अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यं ज्ञानकर्मादि अनावृतम् अनुकूलेन कृष्णानुशीलनं भक्तिरुत्तमा सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्तं तत्परत्वेन निर्मलं ऋषिकेन हृषीकेशसेवनं भक्तिरुच्यते श्रीकृष्णनामाधीन भवेद्ग्राह्यमिन्द्रिये सेवोन्मुख हि जिह्वादौ स्वयम् एव स्फुरत्यता अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् उपयुञ्जता निर्बन्धकृष्णसम्बन्धे उत्तम वैराग्यमुच्यते. Can someone volunteer to read today? Very less symptoms. Okay. Yes, thank you. So, in the Samanya Bhakti, we discussed the definition of pure devotional service and some other shlokas parallel to that definition, like no Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam. And then we also saw what is definition of sadhana bhakti and definition of Vaidhi Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, and the important principle in sadhana bhakti to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna and what exactly it means. Always means it starts with once in a day and then eventually gradually increases. And then we also saw the three levels of devotees. Kanishta Shraddhavan, Madhyama Shraddhavan, and Uttama Shraddhavan. And then we also saw the how bhakti is manifests in the living entity through association. Then we saw the concepts of Shraddha and Sukruti. And then we also saw that how for a devotee performing pure devotional service, he need not perform the Vedic Varnashma duties. He is not expected. But because of being in a society and etc., one may have to do. And one need not also do any atonement if there are some accidental sins happen. Okay, so now Sri Rupa Goswami is going to focus on sadhana bhakti, in particular Vaidhi bhakti. Yes, bro, you can read now.
Srila Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother Sanatan Goswami has compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas for the guidance of Vaishnavas, and therein has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important and prominent, and Srila Rupa Goswami will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Srila Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Exactly how one follows the instructions of his spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instruction of his spiritual master and that instruction is different,
We are not able to hear. Hare Krishna. Bro, you're muted.
yeah, I thought, should I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Hari Bhakti Vilas PhD level.
No. Okay, okay. No, actually, your voice, I think audio got lost. Okay, fine.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You can read from here.
For example, if one is following the instruction of his spiritual master and that instruction is different from the instruction of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of spiritual master is good everywhere. Although the details may be different, Srila Rupa Goswami does not wish to enter into the details here, but wants to place before us only the principles.
Yeah. So Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are many instructions. I mean, how to follow Ekadashi and how to conduct with for a spiritual master and how to conduct with in front of deity. Many details are there. It's a very elaborate book. So it's like a PhD level thing. But Bhakti Samrat Sindhu, what is described, especially in Vaidhi Bhakti, is degree level. Hmm. Because especially for beginning devotees, because in degree level you will understand, okay, in computer science engineering what all are there. There is about networks, there is about security, there is about AI, there is about software programming, all you will study everything. And if you want to go into detail, then in masters and PhD you will get into detail either on say cyber security or artificial intelligence or whatever different aspects. So for beginning, you have to study everything. We should know something of everything. Then we can, as our interest evolves and all, then one can focus on a specific thing. That also comes. That is also going to come. One can focus on one particular anga is also okay. Like yeah, Prabhupada is giving example of Prabhupada is giving example of like different spiritual masters. They will have different modes and missions. No? In service also, some may emphasize book distribution, some may emphasize congregation preaching, like that, or some may emphasize varnashram, like that. Different have moods, but everything is serving Krishna and Guru Parampara. And again, sadhana also. Some may emphasize on reading Srimad Bhagavatam, some may emphasize on nicely chanting properly. Some may emphasize on Vaishnava Seva. But again, all are the angas of Bhakti. So that is there. Okay, you can continue.
He mentions the basic principles as follows. First, accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. Second, becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service for him. Third, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Fourth, following in the footsteps of great acharyas, teachers, under the direction of the spiritual master. Fifth, inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. Sixth, being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up. And also we have to accept something which we may not like to accept. Seventh, residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan. 8. Accepting only what is necessary or dealing with material world only as far as necessary. 9. Observing the fasting day on Ekadashi. 10th. Worshipping the sacred trees like the banyan tree.
Okay, yeah. So, of course, in this chapter, they're just listed, and some points are also made, like what are most important and what is what also something. So that we'll discuss. And every class we'll try to complete 2 chapters. So that way we should be able to complete by November end with exams. Yes, you can read.
Yes. These 10 items are preliminary necessities for beginning the discharge of devotional service and regulative principles. In the beginning, if a neophyte devotee observes the above mentioned 10 principles, surely he will quickly make good advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So preliminary is because these are preliminary, like for beginning devotees, these are most important, and it's not like they lose importance for those who are not beginning. I mean, who are middle level, but that also they for them also it is important. Now, neophyte means you have to see the definition. Who is Kanishta Shraddhavan, who is Madhyama Shraddhavan. So you have to see that. So neophyte means not just okay as those who are less than 5 years in Krishna consciousness, they are neophytes, not like that. because one of the most important thing in bhakti is hearing. I mean, hearing from Guru, because that is important, because then only one understands what is bhakti, because one has to learn how to study scriptures, what is given in scriptures. That's why the association with Guru is important. And then also practicing some basic detachment. You should be ready to give up some things and all, like the four regulative principles. This is important. Like, we may have question why chanting is not given. Yes, chanting is important, but more important is to chant with proper understanding, and some basic detachment. Otherwise, the chanting is not sustainable. There may be a tendency, even beginning devotees also, they also may think that if I come to 16 rounds, then I'm a senior devotee, or I'm a good devotee. And also there may be a tendency also to push those who are preaching. I mean, for the preachers also, or mentors also, to push. But it's more important that they come to a sattvic lifestyle, with some good detachment, and also they understand what is bhakti. Okay, next.
The next set of instructions is listed as follows. First, one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. Second, one should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. Third, one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. Fourth, one should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Fifth, one should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. Sixth, one should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or jubilation in gain. One should not disrespect the demigods. One should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deity in the temple. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna or his devotees.
If you observe, the first are all do's. The first 10 are all do's. The second 10 are all don'ts. So about this, it is told, अस्यस्तत्र प्रवेशे द्वारत्वेपि अंगविंशति त्रयां प्रदानम एवोक्तम गुरु पादाश्रयैतिकम. These 20 angas serve as the door for entering bhakti, which means these are very important. The 10 do's and 10 don'ts. So we should try to remember them and understand them also. We are going to discuss, but that's what is being told. In that also, the first three angas, taking shelter of the uh, feet of Guru, receiving teachings after initiation, and serving the Guru with respect, or said to be the principal ones. Because through Guru, you will learn all other things. The main thing also with Guru is to learn from him these things. So that also we are going to discuss. That's why the first three are very important. And learning only happens properly if you are serving the Guru. Okay, read.
Suji, I had one question about what's wrong with constructing good temples, costly temples.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. You can remember that.
Okay,
You
bro.
can remind me that. We'll discuss today.
Without, okay, bro. Thank you. Without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. Altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items, and all of them are very important. Out of the 20, the first three, namely accepting the shelter of bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from him, and serving him with respect and reverence, are the most important.
Okay. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also, like if you see the last two, one should carefully avoid the offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So this means, see, in the beginning stage, or it is going to be there for quite some time. There will be some seva aparads or nama aparads. It will happen. I mean, happen may time to time and all, but over the time, the intensity will reduce. Initially 10, it again depends on background, but those who come from a worldly background, so that the worldly habits of finding faults, complaining, they will be there to some time. So one should not so much beat oneself with it, but one should be patient and properly follow the process. Then slowly that will reduce. So he says, however, after committing them, we should be careful to avoid the offenses in the future. So we should slowly try to reduce them. Should not beat oneself. No, okay, my chanting is always in it. So, but learn it properly, and then see. Okay, this is like a summary. Like 64 items of bhakti are there. In that 20 are of primary importance. In that also 10 are pravritti, means do's, and 11 to 20 are don'ts. And in that again remaining 44, in that 21 to 60, 40 are again these are mainly concerned with deity worship and some other both Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavad Vidhi also, but mainly Pancharatrika Vidhi, most of them. And then the five potent forms. Again, in this chanting comes actually. Chanting is one of that. So that is there. Okay. Now this is just listed. So you just read. Yeah, you can read.
Next important items are as follows. First, one should decorate the body with tilak, which is the sign of Vaishnava. The idea is that as soon as a person sees these marks on the body of a Vaishnava, he'll immediately remember Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that a Vaishnava is he who, when seen, reminds one of Krishna. Therefore, it is essential that a Vaishnava mark his body with tilak to remind others of Krishna. Second, in marking such tilak, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body. One should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deities and the spiritual master and put them on one's body. One should learn to dance before the deity. One should learn how to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or the spiritual master. As soon as one visits a temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up. When the deity is being borne for a stroll in the street, a devotee should immediately follow the procession. In this connection, it may be noted that in India, especially in the Vishnu temples, the system is that apart from the big deity who is permanently situated in the main area of the temple, there is a set of smaller deities which are taken into procession in the evening. In some temples, it is the custom to hold a big procession in the evening with the band playing and a nice big umbrella over the deities who sit on the decorated thrones on the cart or palanquin which is carried by the devotees. The deities come out onto the street and travel in the neighborhood while the people of the neighborhood come out to offer prasad. The residents of the neighborhood all follow the procession, so it is very nice scene. When the deity is coming out, the servitors in the temple put forward the daily accounts before them. So much was the collection, so much was the expenditure. The whole idea is that the deity is considered the proprietor of the whole establishment, and all these priests, all the priests and other people taking care of the temple are considered to be servants of the deity. This system is very, very old and is still followed. So therefore it is mentioned here that when the deity is on a stroll, the people should follow behind. 8. A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. In Vrindavan, this system is followed very strictly. All the devotees in the town go every morning and evening to visit different temples. Therefore, during these times, there are considerable crowds all over the city. There are about 5,000 temples in Vrindavan. Of course, it is not possible to visit all the temples, but at least 1 dozen very big and important temples which were started by the Goswamis and which should be visited. One must circumambulate the temple building at least 3 times. In every temple, there is an arrangement to go around the temple at least 3 times. Some devotees go around more than 3 times, 10 times, 15 times, according to their vows. The Goswamis used to circumambulate the Govardhan hill. One should also circumambulate the whole Vrindavan area. One must worship the deity in the temple according to the regulative principles, offering arti, prasad, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be observed regularly. One must render personal service to the deities. One must sing. One must perform sankirtan. One must chant. One must offer prayers. One must recite notable prayers. One must taste Mahaprasad, food from the very plate offered before the deity. One must drink Charnamrit, water from the Veding of the deities which is offered to the guests. One must smell the incense and the flowers offered to the deities. One must touch the lotus feet of the deity. One must see the deity with great devotion. One must offer Arti Artika at different times. One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or similar books. One must pray to the deities.
Voice is breaking.
No, bro, someone else is also.
Okay, so mute.
Mute all. Listen.
Why couldn't be
Not able to.
Prabhu?
Why can't it be Hari Prabhu? Oh, okay. I don't see his.
Native.
Okay, bro. I'll continue, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
One must touch the lotus feet of the deity. One must see the deity with great devotion. One must offer arti at different times. One must hear about the Lord and his pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, similar books. One must pray to the deity for his mercy. One should remember the deity. One should meditate upon the deity. One should render some voluntary service. One should think of the Lord as one's friend. One should offer everything to the Lord. One should offer a favorite article such as a food or a garment. One should take all kinds of risks and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. In every condition, one should be surrendered soul. One should pour water on the Tulsi tree. One should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature. One should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. One should offer service to Vaishnavas, devotees. One should arrange one's devotional service according to one's means. In the month of Kartika, October and November, one should make arrangements for special services. During the Janmashtami, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, one should observe a special service. One should do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity. One should relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among devotees and not among outsiders. One should associate with the devotees who are considered more advanced. One should chant the holy name of the Lord. And one should live in the jurisdiction of Mathura.
Yeah.
Now
Continue.
yes, Prabhuji, this chanting is like repeating or because one place it was written one must chant.
Yeah.
And here it is written that chanting holy name of the Lord.
Yeah, they get repeated.
Okay.
There is they like these last five, no? They are already mentioned before.
Mentioned before. Okay. Yes.
They are
yes.
reported. They are repeated twice because to emphasize, to give the emphasis.
Now the total regulative principles come to an aggregate of 64 items. As we have mentioned, the first are the primary 10 regulative principles, then come the secondary 10 regulative principles, and added to these are 44 other activities. So altogether, there are 64 items for discharging the regulative practice of devotional service. Out of these 64 items, 5 items, namely worshipping the deity, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating among the devotees, Sankirtan, and living in Mathura are very important. The 64 items of devotional service should include all of our activities of body, mind, and speech. As stated in the beginning, the regulative principle of devotional service enjoins that all of our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. Exactly how they can be thus employed is described in the above 64 items. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence from different scriptures supporting the authenticity of the many of these points.
So these are mentioned. We will discuss like in detail means At least Sri Rupa Goswami gives a scriptural reference, and some aspects he comments and gives some guidelines. Our acharyas also add something, Prabhupada also adds something. So we'll try to discuss as much as possible for every anga of bhakti. So these are also called as 64 angas of bhakti. Of bhakti, but mainly Vaidi bhakti. Okay, yeah. So now the first, yeah, 15, I think 15 are being discussed in this chapter. Okay, so we'll start with the accepting Guru Shri Guru Padash. Yes, Prabhu, you can read.
Accepting the shelter of bona fide spiritual master. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse 21, uh, Prabuddha tells Maharaj Nimi, "My dear king, please know for certain that in the material world there is no happiness. It is simply a mistake to think that there is happiness here, because this place is full of nothing but miserable conditions."
Okay,
Thus,
so yeah. So the verse says, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Parecha Nishnatam Brahmani Upasamashayam. So those who want the Shreya Uttamam, the highest welfare, Shreya Uttamam Shreya, so they should take shelter of a guru. But who is that guru? He is Shabde Parecha Nishnatam Brahmani Upasamashayam. So the qualification is any he must have realized the conclusion of scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. He is Uttama Shraddhavan. Like we discussed na three levels. Kanishta Shraddhavan, Madhyama Shraddhavan, and Uttama Shraddhavan. So he is Uttama Shraddhavan. And more beyond also, but yeah. At least at Shraddha level, he is Uttama Shraddhavan. Okay, yeah, continue.
any person who is seriously desirous of achieving
No, you
real
can read
happiness,
from here.
such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as the bona fide spiritual masters. Everyone should try to find such a bona fide spiritual master in order to fulfill his mission of life, which is to transfer himself to the plane of spiritual bliss. The purport is that one should not accept as a spiritual master someone who is fool number one, who has no direction according to the spiritual injunctions, whose character is doubtful, who does not follow the principles of devotional service, or who has not conquered the influence of the six sense gratifying agents. The six agents of sense gratification are the tongue, the genitals, the belly, the anger, mind, and words. Anyone who has practiced controlling these six is permitted to make disciples all over the world. To accept such a spiritual master is a crucial point for advancement in spiritual life. One who is fortunate enough to come under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is sure to traverse the path of spiritual salvation without any doubt.
Yeah, so this is from where? Can anyone say this one?
So, Vatsavegam Manasatrodari,
Yeah,
Jiva Vegam.
correct. Yes. So yeah, so Guru. This is also the qualification of Guru. Means not just he is expert in scriptural knowledge and understanding, but also this also sense control, and also he is sheltered at Brahman Upasmashraya. So all these three. Okay, now, so here Prabhupada has given why one should take shelter of a guru for ultimate welfare. Hmm. So that is we discussed before from the definition of pure devotional service and all. It is Krishna prema. Okay, so you can take how much time? Around 7 minutes you can take, and you can think of this. What are possible wrong reasons to accept a spiritual master? Some things that are prevalent nowadays or around you, whatever. And what are possible right reasons? Hmm. Right reasons also can be many. It's not one, but can be many. Hmm. And then can give examples from Shastra of devotees who went to great lengths to seek shelter from a spiritual master. So there are some, at least three prominent examples, but more also. Okay, so for the first question. Okay, Yashaj Prabhu can tell.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mm,
Prabhuji, the first and what I thought the most important is to show off. Because if
mm,
I have a very great spiritual master, so I can show off. Okay, so I am a disciple of that Maharaj.
mm. Okay, okay, good. Thank you. Yes, Shrikant Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. First was this one only to show.
Mm,
And second thing is for material benefits, actually, accepting spiritual master.
mm,
Sometimes people think that, oh, the spiritual master will serve me in this way, save me in this way. Instead of we serving spiritual
mm,
master, we want
mm,
initiation because he will serve me this way, that way. So that is one
mm,
wrong.
mm, mm. Okay. Anyone else? Anything? Okay. Okay, Yashaj Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As Prabhuji
Mm,
tells, some people take initiation just for material gain. So yeah,
mm,
I want to add one more point. Some
mm,
people also take initiation from out of ISKCON, even what I heard, because they want this Guru Maharaj have less regulations and is not
mm,
chastising me, something like that. So I
mm,
can
mm.
do independently as my
Okay.
own will.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is
Yeah,
also
that
a
makes.
wrong
This is
reason.
more like considerations in choosing a guru, wrong considerations in choosing a guru. But yeah, fine. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. In particular, also some people think that if I take initiation, whole my karma will get washed away. So that is also there. Okay. Now, second question: what are possible right reasons to accept a spiritual master? This is easy. But, mm, anyone else? Okay, yes, Srikant Prabhu, you can tell.
Is that slok tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upekshan kite jnanam jnanana statodharshina. So we
Mm,
accept spiritual master so that we can understand the truth and also
mm.
to inquire from him submissively and to render service unto him.
Okay, okay, yes. Yeah, mainly to understand the truth.
Truth.
So, inquiring and serving him is a part of is a is meant for is a means to attain the end. That end. Oh, okay, next. Mm. Okay, Yashas Prabhu, yes, you can tell. Sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji already said to inquire the queries. And one more thing, Prabhuji. What I believe,
Mm.
the right reason is we should means what we say. Uh, mhm. Yeah, because the spiritual master, if somebody wants to really serve the God, then he need
Mm.
the spiritual master. And the reason is behind that only to serve proper in the proper manner to Krishna, because only Guru can guide us. That's why
Yeah,
some
yeah,
people have the reason. And already
yeah.
Prabhuji told to inquire knowledge and all these things.
Yeah. To learn how to serve Krishna. Yeah, serving Krishna is more like Abhidheya Gyan and know about Krishna is like Sambandha. Okay, fine. Yes. Okay, now third. Yes, bro. Okay. Yes, Raj Prabhu can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Srila Bhakti
Mm.
Siddhanta Swami Thakur.
Mm. Okay. Yes. Any other? Srikant Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu Narottam Das Thakur from
No, no, yes.
Lokushima. And
Also, yes, yes.
I forgot. Prabhuji, even For the current generation, Radhanath Swami Maharaj also, he came all the way hitchhiking from uh, America to India in search of a spiritual master, a search of truth, if not exactly
Okay.
spiritual master.
Okay, not a particular one. Okay, fine. It's okay. Of course, Ramanujacharya is also there with Goshtipur now. Yeah, Goshtipur. Yeah.
Can
Then
we
of
say
course that
Eklavya also? Eklavya.
no, Eklavya. Different story. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has a particular different take and all. Yeah. Actually, there is some background. Actually, Dronacharya tells him not to. He should not learn devotionals. He should not learn archery because he was uh, he was hurting a dog by his archery. So it's actually a different. It's in one some way contradictory example actually. Okay, let's continue. Next, accepting initiation from spiritual master and receiving instructions from him. Krishna Siksha Dikshadi. What is that exactly? Bad. Sri Krishna Dikshadi Sikshanam. Yes, you can read.
From
Sage
Sage.
Prabhupada.
Sage, Sage Prabhupada continued to speak to the king as follows. My dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master not only as a spiritual master, but also as a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Super Soul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God because he is the external manifestation of Krishna. This is confirmed in every scripture, and the disciple should accept the spiritual master as such.
Yeah. So the goal is there to know, to get knowledge. So for that, then you should endeavor to get knowledge. Just the right motive is not sufficient, but you have to act on that also. So the verse says, Tatra Bhagavatan Dharman Sikshed Guru Atma Daivata Amayaya Anubhutya Yes Tushed Atma Hari. Acquiring knowledge after initiation. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipable deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure bhakti. See, very clear. The disciple should learn from him the process of pure bhakti by sincere service. By that pure bhakti, the Lord, the Supreme Soul, will be satisfied and give himself to the devotee. So, by sincere service, how? Because now this is also told in a more personal context, like, okay, you can just read the translation or Prabhupada translated. One should learn.
One should learn Srimad Bhagavatam seriously and with all respect and veneration for the spiritual master. Hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is the religious process which elevates one to the platform of serving and loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The attitude of the disciple should be to satisfy the bona fide spiritual master. Then it will be very easy for him to understand the spiritual knowledge.
Of course, this is also told in a more personal context. Like it is very obvious, like, if a teacher is pleased with a student, then he will take more interest in teaching the student. Like if you see Dronacharya and Arjuna, like Arjuna used to practice the very night what Dronacharya taught in that day. So that's why Dronacharya became very pleased by that. So he took more interest and taught Arjuna. The same way, the same principle applies in devotional service also. If you serve the spiritual master, whoever is teaching you, it's not just serving spiritual master, but whoever is teaching you the science of Krishna consciousness, you serve them nicely, then you will, they will be happy, and then they will take special interest in teaching you. So that is, so that's why learning is more important than serving, in some way. There is also the fact that the spiritual master is also representative of Lord. But again, it's not like, there is another thing like, there is some misconception like, no, you cannot offer, you cannot approach only Krishna, only you can serve Guru. That is okay to to understand it in the beginning, but it's not like Guru does not stand between you and Krishna, but Guru removes what stands between you and Krishna. So it's not like that exactly. One may have some particular mood like that, and out of some humility and all, one may have that, but this is the understanding is like this. Okay, yes, read this.
This is confirmed in the Vedas, and Rupa Goswami will further explain that for a person who has an unflinching faith in the God and the spiritual master, everything becomes revealed very easily.
Yeah. So it's important one should learn. I mean, one should hear. One should not claim oneself as a great disciple just because he's serving the spiritual master, or he's achieving some things for the spiritual master, or he's giving a lot of donation and all. But the main important thing is one should hear. It's important. Hear means basically learn. It could be also by reading his books or whatever. And this should also be a consideration in choice. Should be an also important factor. Like, you should see, like, if you want to take initiation from a particular spiritual master, you should be able to learn something from whatever you are hearing from him. Learn and get inspiration also. It's also important that you are learning. It's not just you are getting inspiration time to time, but also learning something about the philosophy, about how to practice devotional service, how to advance, all these things. It's not because, uh, okay, hmm, okay, so because my friends took initiation from him, I take initiation from him. Uh, they should not be the important considerations. Or he speaks the same mother tongue as me, all that. No, this is important. Okay, the third, Vishrambena Guru Seva, serving the spiritual master with faith and confidence. Read.
Regarding accepting initiation from the spiritual master, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 17th chapter, verse number 27, it is said by the Lord Krishna, "My dear Uddhava, the spiritual master must be accepted not only as my representative but as my very self. He must never be considered on the same level with an ordinary human being. One should never be envious of the spiritual master as one may be envious of an ordinary man. The spiritual master should always be seen as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by serving the spiritual master, one is able to serve all the demigods."
Okay. Yeah. So basic point here is one should not see spiritual master with a mundane vision. So okay, you can take 3 minutes and think some possible ways of how one may see a spiritual master with a mundane vision. You must have discussed or studied about it in the NOI verse also. It's, I think, verse sixth, seventh, sixth, I think. Okay, yes. Any? It can not need not be always Diksha Guru, but whoever is teaching you or guiding you in Krishna consciousness. Okay, Yashas bro, yes, you can tell.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Mm,
when we see our spiritual master on the mundane perspective, like he's also like a human being and he do the
mm,
same activities like us. So
mm,
we had that generally, if we close to the fire, then we
mm,
may be burned. So we
mm,
should be very careful when we are very close to our Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. Because
mm,
maybe on the mundane platform it's look similar to us, but on the
mm,
spiritual level they are more advanced than us, so we should be very careful in that
mm, mm, mm.
particular situation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. Mm. Okay, yes, Srikant Prabhu.
Guruji also, because as Guruji said, one is to consider spiritual master's
Mm,
body also as a material body at
mm,
a material platform. Other is also like, because we are under three modes of material nature, we also think that a spiritual
mm,
master is also under the three modes of material nature. His anger may be transcendental. We may not understand that, but seeing
mm.
all these things like coming under
Yeah,
three modes itself, seeing it
okay.
that way is sometimes useful.
Yeah, yeah. We should always try to check with some senior devotee and all. We should always give that benefit of doubt, and we should never come to a judgment. The fact that we are seeing something at a worldly level, it's okay, but should not come to a judgment based on that. Like for sometimes for serving a spiritual master, it is okay to see how his health is and all. That's okay. And sometimes when you're in closely interacting, also it's okay to understand his temperament and all. Also is okay, but yeah. Okay, Sundari Subhadra Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Mm,
So we must not try to uh, see the spiritual master on the bodily platform, maybe the bodily defects or diseases, or
mm,
we should also not consider them of a particular caste or creed and segregate
mm,
on the basis of that.
yeah.
So lower lower family birth or something like that. We should
Mm,
not think from that perspective.
okay, yes, yes, correct. Okay, anything else? Yes. Okay, fine. Yeah, some more things like no, you should not compare, you should not have materialistic expectations. Some may have some interest in, some may like a very, I mean, a not light presentation, some Krishna conscious presentation spiced with some humor. That is not so wrong, but you should not expect, no, you should not expect that from your spiritual master. I mean, his personality may be different, or you cannot say, no, he's he's not joking with me, or all these things. Yes, yes, Shaz Prabhu or something.
Yes, Prabhuji, no, I got one more point. Prabhuji,
Mm.
can we say sometime we expect the spiritual master, he will give us every answer? Because if I, for
Uh-huh.
example, if I have some business problem and I go to
Mm,
the spiritual master and told, okay, Guru Maharaj, I have that problem. So he
mm,
give us the some spiritual solution. So you think that,
mm,
okay, how it's correlated? Because I heard that
yeah,
we should go ask only the spiritual question, because Guru is not
mm,
mandatory to give on all mundane answer and family
mm,
problems all.
mm, mm, mm.
So can
Yeah,
we correlate with it, Proji?
yeah, yeah, that is also there. Uh, While asking also, like if you have some problem and that is disturbing your Krishna consciousness, you can answer, you can at least, if you are sincere and if you're thoughtful, first you should only tell that this is a my business problem and this is affecting my Krishna consciousness. So what should I do? Then if he just gives that, that's okay. Or he may tell that, okay, for this problem, you can ask this devotee or something. So yeah, that kind of expectations also we should not, and you should not compare one spiritual master with another. oh, he's not so famous like him, or different things, or he does not sing such melodiously like him. Or okay, so you are interested in melodious singing. If that inspires you in Krishna consciousness, you can take inspiration from that other spiritual master. There is nothing wrong, but you should not impose that uh, on another spiritual master. That no, if you have to be advanced, means you have to be like this. Oh, he's not singing melodiously, that's why he's not advanced. uh, or no, he has more disciples, he doesn't have so many more disciples. You should not all try to judge by these worldly parameters. Can say material, but not materialistic, but worldly parameters. The advancement is the symptoms of bhava bhakti, how much he's dedicated to the process of chanting and hearing about Krishna, how much he works hard in serving Krishna, all these things, how much he is very detached from the material things, all these things. Okay, so now we discussed the first three principles which are related to the spiritual master. And why spiritual master is most important is because you can only learn the science of devotional service from a devotee of Krishna, which is the spiritual master. It's not mainly referring mainly to Diksha Guru or something. It's Siksha Guru and others. Now, next fourth, following in the footsteps of saintly persons. Yeah, it is called Sadhu Bhaktamana Anuvartana. Yes, you can read.
In the Skanda Puran, it is advised that the devotee follow the past acharyas and the saintly persons, because by such following one can achieve the desired results with no chance of lamenting or being baffled in the progress. Shruti
So in this
Smriti.
principle, okay, you read, no problem. Shruti Smriti.
Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidimvina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Upataya Iva Kalpate. The scriptures known as Brahma Yamala states as follows. If someone wants to pose himself as a great devotee without following the authorities of revealed scriptures, then his activities will never help him to make progress in devotional service. Instead, he will simply create disturbances for the sincere students of devotional service. Those who do not strictly follow the principles of revealed scriptures are generally called sahajiyas. Those who have imagined everything to be cheap, who have their own concocted ideas, and who do not follow the scriptural injunctions. Such persons are simply creating disturbances in the discharge of devotional service. In this connection,
Okay, so just wait. So here the main emphasis is to follow the Shastra. Now, one cannot, it is not possible for one to study Shastra, study entire Shastra himself and figure out how to do. So you have to depend on others. Yeah. Of course, from the first three also, it is very evident that you are dependent on the Guru or the Siksha Guru. And also other sadhus also. You will also learn many things from the other sadhus. Because other sadhus means like they are practicing devotional service for quite long time and also well studied, well read in scriptures. So following that, so it's not possible directly to understand everything in scripture and follow by yourself. You have to see also, even though you may understand and how to follow in the practical terms. So that also you need to learn from a sadhu. Like these principles given by Sri Rupa Goswami 64, but Prabhupada has instituted in like morning program and all. So it's easy to follow. So Prabhupada made it more easy and systematic to follow quite many of these principles. Like it's said like in the morning program there are many of these angas are already instituted, especially about centered around deity worship, etc. So one has to follow somebody. Okay, if you have some other inspiration to follow, but follow a sadhu. Follow sadhus, whatever. Yeah. Like if you see the Rituk initiation, no one has made into a system. It's not again there in the 64 Angas. It's like that. It's told, no, you have to serve the Guru and no, you have to hear from him, ask him questions. Now, how will you ask a question of a Guru who is not physically present? Hmm? So that's why you have to follow the sadhus and Shastra. Both are important. Okay. Read.
In this connection, an objection may be raised by those who are not in devotional service and who do not care for the revealed scriptures. An example of this is seen in the Buddhist philosophy. Lord Buddha appeared in the family of a high-grade Kshatriya king, but his philosophy was not in accord with the Vedic conclusions and therefore was rejected. Under the patronage of a Hindu king, Maharaj Ashoka, the Buddhist religion was spread all over India and the adjoining countries. However, after the appearance of great stalwart teacher Shankaracharya, this Buddhism was driven out beyond the borders of India. The Buddhists or the other religionists who do not care for revealed scriptures sometimes say that there are many devotees of Lord Buddha who show devotional service to Lord Buddha and who therefore should be considered devotees. In answer to this argument, Rupa Goswami says that the followers of the Buddha cannot be accepted as devotees. Although Lord Buddha is accepted as an incarnation of Krishna, the followers of such incarnations are not very advanced in their knowledge of the Vedas. To study the Vedas means to come to the conclusion of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, any religious principles which denies the supremacy of the personality of Godhead is not accepted and is called atheism. Atheism means defying the authority of the Vedas and decrying the great acharyas who teach Vedic scriptures for the benefit of the people in general. Lord Buddha is accepted as an sorry. Should I continue?
Yeah, go, yeah, continue.
Lord Buddha is accepted as an incarnation of Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but in the same Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that Lord Buddha appeared in order to bewilder the atheistic class of men. Therefore, his philosophy is meant for bewildering the atheists and should not be accepted. If someone asks, why should Krishna propagate atheistic principles? The answer is that it was the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to end the violence which was being committed in the name of the Vedas. The so-called religionists were falsely using the Vedas to justify this such violent acts as meat eating. And Lord Buddha came to lead the fallen people away from such a false interpretation of the Vedas. Also, for the atheist Lord Buddha, preaching atheism so that they would follow him and thus be tricked into devotional service to Lord Buddha or Krishna.
Yeah. So, yeah, this most of you must be aware. So, in the traditional philosophy or in general, also in philosophy, so whenever you are making a particular point, you should also uh, respond to what all possible objections can come. So here it is told about like following the scripture. So uh, means if you just define from Krishna based on Krishna like pure devotional service, like, but Rupa Goswami has also told about Anushilanam. So that way, like, then it will not. So Buddhism is excluded. So one has to make argument in such a way so all the objections are also answered. So it is also called Purva Paksha. So one has to take care of that. Whenever you're making a point, you should be able to predict beforehand only what all objections can come and should be able to answer that. So the main thing with Buddhism is they don't follow the Vedic, they reject the Vedas, and also they deny the existence of a Supreme Lord. So they are following Lord Buddha, who is a bona fide incarnation of Krishna. So that way they will get some Sukruti and something, but it is again indirect because they are not seeing him as a Supreme Lord. They are seeing him as a teacher or something, as a great personality. So that's why Buddhism is because they don't follow Sadhu Vartmanam. So Buddhism is not considered, following Buddha is not considered as a devotional service per se. But yeah, they will get some benefit that is there. Okay, next is Sadharma Pruchana. Next is Sadharma picture. Okay, you can read till here.
Inquiring about eternal religious principles. In the Naradiya Puran, it is said, if one is actually very serious about devotional service, then all of his purposes will be served without any delay. Achirat eva savartha siddhyat esham abhipsita sadharmasya vabodha
Vabodhas.
vabodhaya yesham nirbandhini mati. Those whose minds are attached to understanding bhakti to the Lord quickly attain all desired goals.
Yeah. So this is important, like hearing, and you should understand also. The hearing is should be done. Yes, hearing also gives some inspiration and some purification also inherently, but you should be able to understand uh, from hearing whatever you're hearing on a regular basis or whatever. You should be able to understand more something more that is also more applicable to you, like what is your next step in your devotional service, all those things. So, okay, take again 3 minutes, and how we can develop eagerness for understanding bhakti. How can we develop this eagerness? 3 minutes. Yes. How can we develop eagerness for understanding bhakti? Anyone? Okay. Yes, Raj, bro.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hmm.
So, Guruji, when we read about Krishna and when we read in the scripture about the devotee, so
Hmm.
reading is lead us to the eagerness.
Yeah.
Means when we see how they are doing bhakti in the bad situation and different situation, so it will encourage us and it will lead us, and especially when we read about the devotees and their life especially.
Hmm. Yeah, in scripture also there are like different situations and different discussions are presented. So if we read attentively and all, then we can it can help in relating to that. Hmm. And another is also to be introspective. To be introspective while reading, so that one can consciously try to have some questions like, okay, what is being discussed here, and some have that nature of questioning and all that. Even if one doesn't have the nature, at least one can even if one does not is not getting questions and all, at least you should be interested in others questions. Hmm? Yes, Srikanth Pro.
Yeah, associating with devotees who are very serious about bhakti and also eager themselves. So that way we also become
Yeah, yeah.
eager
Yeah, if you
to-
see a very senior devotee spending 30, 40 years, but he's sitting in a class in the front, so you'll get inspiration, no? Oh, he's so eager and he's also asking questions. So that is also, yes, associating with those who are eager. Of course, here more is being focused on eager in for understanding Krishna. And as such, if we practice sincerely, even though we are not so intellectual or something, but if you are practicing seriously, whatever angas we like, no chanting and serving Vaishnavas, then as Krishna told, no, dadami buddhi yogam tam. So that will happen, but we should also try to have this try to cultivate this habit consciously also. That we should not just mindlessly hear or something or read something. As much as possible, consciously, we should try to see what I can learn from here and like that. If we try to cultivate this consciously, then that habit will naturally develop. Like you go for a yatra and hear some classes. So at least you can on your return journey, you can at least contemplate, or okay, what 1 point, 2 points I'm taking from these lectures, something at least that we can always see. Then this is more important, especially when after you spend quite some time in Krishna consciousness, because then it may happen that you know things, you know quite some things, you know pastimes, you know this. If you are sitting in a lecture, also you are able to predict what the speaker is going to tell in quite some situations. But at least in that time, at least you should see, okay, what I have learned, it becomes a little more difficult. In the new years, it is more easy, like because you don't know many things. So practically every class you learn something new, but it is more challenging after you spend some not 10, 12, 15 years. Next, being prepared to give up everything material for Krishna's satisfaction. Yes, we can read.
Yes, Prabhu. In the Padma Puran, it is stated, for one who has given up his material sense enjoyment and has accepted the principles of devotional service, the opulence of Vishnu Loka, the kingdom of God, is awaiting. For Krishna's satisfaction is
Okay, yeah,
important.
yeah. So yeah, this is the lecture. Yeah, so if you give up for Krishna, Krishna will give you his own place. Like for Prabhupada also told to one Mr. Shetty, like he's a well-wisher. I mean, not a core devotee, but he's very much favorable and very much attracted to Prabhupada. So he told, if you build, means that was like the initial days of constructing Jew temple and all. And devotees also does not have proper living arrangements, etc., accommodation and all. So Prabhupada told him, if you make houses for devotees here, then Krishna will build your house in Goloka. I mean, he is giving up there. I mean, he is giving up his time and all for constructing houses for devotees. So Prabhupada told Krishna will give you that. Like here also, the important is for Krishna Krishna's satisfaction. It is, if you see in Sanskrit. Krishnarde Bhogadi Tyago. Krishnarde, that is more important. So what you are renouncing, you should be consciously doing it for Krishna. So that is important. Otherwise, one may take, sometimes it is a tendency like to consider more renunciation as a sign or as a means of advancement. So one may think if I fast, if I do Nirjala on Ekadashi, I'll advance more. Or if somebody is in Grihastha ashram, he may think that uh, if I renounce, then I'll advance. Mm. It's like, no, okay, if I take a low paying job, then I may advance. Or if I leave my job and do more service, I will advance. I mean, it may be correct in some way, but again, one has to see one's adhikar. Or if I stay in Vrindavan, I will advance. But this Krishna Artha means no, that conscious intention to please Krishna that should be there. And this will happen naturally. We can try to consciously do this, but it will also happen naturally, as it is said. Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Virakti Ranyatracha. So Virakti will come as you advance, Virakti will come, and that will happen. But that's what one should not put one's goals in terms of more renunciation, etc. It should be more devotional service, and in the course of doing the devotional service, if one has to renounce things, that naturally that ability and inspiration, everything will happen. Okay. Mm, yeah, I think we can do. Yeah. Okay, you can take again 3 minutes and give examples of devotees who gave up very difficult things for Krishna's service, And you can also write down some few things which you can give up, which by which you can also practice devotional service better or more efficiently, effectively. 3 minutes, then we will discuss. Okay, yes, some examples. Okay, yes, Shrikant Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Guruji, Bali Maharaj gave up
Okay.
everything for Krishna service.
Hmm.
Prutu Maharaj gave up his 100th Ashwamedh Yajna for Krishna service. And Jatayu gave up
Okay.
his life in
हाँ
Krishna
ठीक है,
service.
tell. Okay, fine. Okay, Yashraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they gave up their post.
Hmm. Okay. And anyone else? Anything? Like, of course, in Krishna Leela also we see the gopis gave up their social prestige and all in order to serve Krishna, and especially the Brahmin Patnis also for serving Krishna they gave up those things. Yeah. And I hope you also wrote down some things which you can give up, or which if you give up you can do more effective devotional service. Yes, Yashraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can we take example of gopis? Because Krishna himself said, "Na pare hum nijada sayuja." You gave
Yeah,
up
yeah.
all the things for me.
Yes, we can definitely take. Okay, yeah. So now we have to brush up. Yes, bro, you can read this. Residing in a sacred place.
In the Skand Puran, it is also said that for a person who has lived in Dwarka for 6 months, for 1 month, or even for one fortnight, there is awaiting elevation to Vaikuntha Loka. And all the profits of Sarupya Mukti, the privilege of having the same 400 bodily features of as Narayana. In Brahma Puran, it is said the transcendental significance of Purushottam Kshetra, which is the 80 square mile field of Lord Jagannath, cannot be properly described. Even the demigods from higher planetary systems see the inhabitants of the Jagannath Puri as having exactly the same bodily features possessed by the one in Vaikuntha. That is the demigods. That is, the demigods see the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri as being 400. When there was a meeting of great sages in Naimisharanya, Shuta Goswami was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, and the importance of the Ganges was stated as follows: the water of Ganges are always carrying the flavor of Tulsi offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, and as such, the waters of Ganges are ever flowing, spreading the glories of Lord Krishna. Wherever the water of Ganges are flowing, all will be sanctified both externally and internally.
Yeah, so here it is especially stated that it's residing in a sacred place, means staying there for a significant period of time. It's not just visiting. Hmm. So for this, one has to see, one has to know one's own adhikar and all. Of course, if that is possible, one can do, but with under guidance and supervision, because it is possible one may develop some mundane vision and all. Can get One can become casual attitude towards the holy places and all. And I think this is also a bit discussed in the verse with respect to Radha Kund also. Yes, Shrikant, probably have some question.
Ruji, there may be many who are residing there, right, already. Like we see, especially in Dwarka, a lot of even other community people stay there. Um, so is this true for them as well? Like, how do we
Maybe
understand it?
it's more like, see, one has to be conscious of that, conscious of the importance of this place, and conscious of, see, that's why so there is so much importance of being stressed on knowledge, learning from Guru, understanding bhakti and all. So if one has that consciousness that no, I'm residing, how holy is Dwaraka, and one is recollecting the places of pastimes of Krishna and all, and he has the mood that I'm serving the Dham here, and or the devotees who are coming to this Dham, or some particular deity of this Dham. If either of this consciousness is there, then it is okay. Otherwise, Otherwise, what is the point in that? Yeah. Otherwise, they will get Sukruti only. Some Agya Sukruti or some Punya Sukruti, whatever they will get. Okay, then is accepting only what is necessary. Yeah, you can read this.
वावता स्यात् स्वनिर्वाहः स्वीकुर्यात् तावत् अर्थवित् आधिक्ये न्यूनतायां च चव्यते परमार्थतः. Translation: Living with minimal material needs. Verse number 76 from Naradiya Puran. The person with wisdom concerning material objects accepts as much as is necessary for the maintenance of bhakti. By accepting more or less than that, the person will fail to attain the highest goal.
Hmm.
Jiva Goswami's commentary. Swanirvaha means for the survival of one's bhakti rather than one's body. Okay, Swanirvaha.
So accepting only what is necessary. So what is only necessary for a bhakti? So only that much accepting. So it and also, but in the conditioned state, bhakti is also dependent on body. Therefore, body also has to be given the importance due it deserves. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like, if you want a mobile phone, like whatever your devotional service need is, if you just need Android, no need to purchase Apple phone. So, like this, one can see for one's own self. Like, if for traveling, whatever basic car you need, you can accept that. No need to have a luxury car. But yeah, if your service, you have to meet high profile people and you have a high profile post also in a society and all, and that need, and for that only the base is a luxury car, then okay. So one has to figure out in one's own life what is necessary for devotional service and only just accepting that. Like if you can travel just in economy class, no need to go for a business class or whatever. One has to figure out if your minimum needs are sufficient by, let's say, 15 lakhs at 15 lakh job, then fine, no need to go for higher. Of course, if you have a desire to contribute to Lord service and that is also your mentors are okay with it and you can keep your sadhana everything intact with it, that is fine. Otherwise, uh, okay, read the purport in the Nardi Puran.
In the Naradiya Puran, it is directed one should not accept more than necessary if he is serious about discharging devotional service. The purport is that one should not neglect following the principles of devotional service, nor should one accept the rulings of devotional service which are more than what he can easily perform. For example, it may be said that one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra at least 100,000 times daily on his beats. But if this is not possible, one must minimize his chanting according to his own capacity. Generally, we recommend our disciples to chant at least 16 rounds on their japa beats daily, and this should be completed. But if one is not even able to chant 16 rounds, then he must make it up the next day. He must be sure to keep his vow. If he does not strictly follow this out, then he is sure to be negligent. That is offensive in the service of the Lord. If we encourage offenses, we shall not be able to make progress in devotional service. It is better if one fixes up the regulative principles according to his own ability and then follows that vow without fail. That will make him advance in spiritual life.
Yeah. This like whatever decisions we take, the guiding principle should be the first primary guiding principle should be whether it is favorable for devotion service or not favorable. Then other factors can come. I mean, you have a family, there are many family considerations, social considerations, other things, but health considerations all. But the primary thing should be whether it is devotion service or not. Then next you can read observing fasting.
Observing fasting on Ekadashi. In the Brahma Vivarta Puran, it is said that one who observes fasting on Ekadashi day is freed from all kinds of reaction to sinful activities and advances in pious life. The basic principle is not just to fast, but to increase one's faith and love for Govinda or Krishna. The real reason for observing fasting on Ekadashi is to minimize the demands of body and to engage our time in service of the Lord by chanting or performing similar service. The best thing to do on fasting day is to remember the pastimes of Govinda and to hear his holy name constantly.
Yeah, so it's not so intensifying Ekadashi means to do more devotional service on Ekadashi. It's not like if you are fasting from grains, so you'll fast from, you'll only survive on fruits, then you will only survive on water. That should not be the goal, or that should not be the focus. The focus is to do more uh, devotional service. And for doing that more devotional service, if you need to minimize your material, if you need to minimize, if you need to intensify your vow of fasting, then that is fine. First what should come is intensifying our devotional service. Then for that sake, you can intensify your fasting on Ekadashi. Yeah. Okay, next.
Offering
Offering
respect
the
to the banyan trees. In Skandpuran, it is directed that the devotee should offer water to the tulsi plant and amalka trees. He should offer respect to the cows and to the brahmanas and should serve the Vaishnavas by offering them respectful obeisances and meditating upon them. All of these processes will help the devotees to diminish the reactions to his past sinful activities.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, why we worship cows? One thing that is also a part of Vedic culture. More important is Krishna loves cows. So if you want to at least relate to Krishna, and so you should be able to relate to cows and have some appreciation for them. If not, like no, you are inclined to serve them and all. At least you should have appreciation for that culture and all. Then only you can relate to Krishna. So why banyan tree? Because it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, as this is explained by Sri Jiva Goswami. Ashwatta Sarva Vrikshanam. I am of all the trees, I am banyan. So, yeah. Because it represents the vibhuti of Krishna. Then giving up.
Giving up the company of non devotees. Lord Chaitanya was once asked by one of his household devotees what the general behavior of a Vaishnava should be. In this connection, Lord Chaitanya replied that Vaishnava should always give up the company of non devotees. Then he explained that there are two kinds of non devotees. One class is against the supremacy of Krishna, and the other class is too materialistic. In other words, those who are after the material enjoyment and those who are against the supremacy of the Lord are called Avaishnav, and their company should be strictly avoided.
Vaishnava Sangatyag E Vaishnava Acharya. Asat Sangatyag E Vaishnava Acharya. Continue.
In the Katyayana Samhita, it is stated that even if one is forced to live within a cage of iron or in the midst of blazing fire, he should accept this position rather than live with a non-devotee who are through and through against the supremacy of the Lord. Similarly, in the Vishnu Rahasya, there is a statement to the effect that one should prefer to embrace a snake, a tiger, or an alligator rather than associate with a person who are worshippers of various demigods and who are impelled by material desire.
Yeah. It is like not told. It's wish is more Vishaya is more dangerous than a wish, because they will they will damage you at the spiritual level. A tiger, snake, this alligator, they only can damage you at the physical level. And again, you will get another body. But associating with non-devotees, they destroy your inclination to devotional service, your faith in the process and all, or distract you from the process. So that is a damage at the spiritual level. So that's why these kind of statements are mentioned. Yes.
In the scriptures, it is instructed that one may worship a certain demigod if he desires of achieving some material gain. For example, one is advised to worship the sun god if he desires of getting rid of a disease condition. For a beautiful wife, one may worship Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. And for advanced education, one may worship Saraswati. Similarly, there is list in the Srimad Bhagavatam for worshippers of all demigods according to the different material desires. But all of these worshippers, although they appear to be very good devotees of the demigods, are still considered to be non-devotees. They cannot be accepted as devotees. The Mayavadis, impersonalists, say that one may worship any form of the Lord and that it doesn't matter because one reaches the same destination anyway. But it is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that those who worshippers of the demigods will ultimately reach only to the planets of those demigods, while those who are devotees of the Lord himself will be promoted to the Lord's abode, the kingdom of God. So actually these persons who are worshippers of the demigods have been condemned in the Gita. It is described that due to their lusty desires, they have lost their intelligence and have therefore taken to worshipping the different demigods. So in the Vishnu Rahasya, these demigod worshippers are forcefully condemned by the statement that it is better to live with the most dangerous animals than to associate with these persons.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is giving 4 categories. The first is materialists, who are after sense enjoyment, whose goal in life is only sense enjoyment, and whose activities are getting more sense enjoyment. Second is the atheists, who are outright against the supremacy of the Lord and even the existence of the Lord. Third is the demigod worshippers. And fourth is the impersonalists or Advaitavadis, Mayavadis. Okay, so these have to be avoided because they damage you at the spiritual level. They damage devotional service. So one can prefer a physical discomfort or physical destruction than to be associated with these people. Okay, next. Not accepting unfit disciples, constructing many temples, or reading many books. Yes. Read.
Another stricture is that a person may have many disciples, but he should not act in such a way that he will be obliged to any of them for some particular action or some favor. And one should also not be very enthusiastic about constructing new temples, nor should one be enthusiastic about reading various types of books, except the ones which lead to the advancement of devotional service. Practically, one if one very carefully reads Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, teachings of Lord Chaitanya and his nectar of devotion, that will give him sufficient knowledge to understand the science of Krishna consciousness. One need not take the trouble of reading other books. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, verse number 8, Narad Muni, while discussing with Maharaj Yudhishthira the various functions of the different orders in the society, especially mentions rules for the sannyasis, those persons who have renounced this material world. One who has accepted the sannyas order of life is forbidden to accept as a disciple anyone who is not fit. The sannyasi should first of all examine whether a prospective student is sincerely asking Krishna consciousness. If he is not, he should not be accepted. However, Lord Chaitanya's causeless mercy is such that he advised all bona fide spiritual masters to speak about Krishna consciousness everywhere. Therefore, in the line of Lord Chaitanya, even the sannyasis can speak about Krishna consciousness everywhere. And if someone is seriously inclined to become a disciple, the sannyasis always accept him. The one point is that without increase in number of disciples, there is no propagation of the cult of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sometimes, even at a risk, a sannyasi in line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may accept even a person who is not thoroughly fit to become a disciple. Later on, by the mercy of such a bona fide spiritual master, the disciple is gradually elevated. However, if one increases the number of disciples simply for some prestige or false honor, he will surely fall down in the matter of executing Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So
Similarly,
2 things. If the candidate is sincere and serious and sufficiently detached and pure, and he approaches the sannyasi or the spiritual master, he should be given initiation. Or the spiritual master, he should, as a service to the Guru Parampara, because The Guru Parampara only can sustain if there are, if there are good number of people. No? Otherwise, the parampara cannot continue, no, cannot propagate into the future. So, as a service to the parampara, one should try to preach and make disciples. So, these two, for these two. But what is not allowed is to get followers, to if you have more disciples, you will get more donations, so better facilities, or you will be seen as popular. So for these kind of things, one should not initiate disciples. Yeah. Because if you don't preach, the parampara will get eventually lost. So that for that sake, even if even if the spiritual master is also not very advanced, but as a service to parampara, he should initiate. And even if sometimes if the person coming is not so committed, but we can take a risk. Again, that has to be seen according to time, place, circumstance. If it is a place where the moment the Krishna consciousness is not at all present, then one can take some risk and give. If it is a well established, if in that place Krishna consciousness is well established, then one can look for more purity standards and all. Yeah. Okay. Yes. You can read.
Similarly, a bona fide spiritual master has no business reading many books simply to show his proficiency or to get popularity by lecturing in different places. One should avoid all these things. It is also stated that sannyasis should not be enthusiastic about constructing temples. We can see in the lives of various acharyas in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that they were not very enthusiastic about constructing temples. However, if somebody comes forward to offer some service, the same reluctant acharyas will encourage the building of costly temples by such servitors. For example, Rupa Goswami was offered a favor by Maharaj Man Singh, the commander-in-chief of Emperor Akbar, and Rupa Goswami instructed him to construct large temple for Govindji, which cost vast amount of money.
Yeah, read.
So, a bona fide spiritual master should not personally take any responsibility for constructing temples. But if someone has money and wants to spend it in service of Krishna, an acharya like Rupa Goswami may utilize the devotees' money to construct a nice, costly temple for the service of the Lord. Unfortunately, it happens that someone who is not fit to become a spiritual master may approach wealthy persons to contribute for temple construction. If such money is utilized by unqualified spiritual masters for living comfortably in costly temples without actually doing any preaching work, this is not acceptable. In other words, the spiritual master need not be very enthusiastic for constructing temple building simply in the name of so-called spiritual advancement. Rather, his first and foremost activity should be to preach. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj recommended that a spiritual master print books if one has money. Instead of constructing costly temples, one should spend his money for publication of authorized books in different languages for propagating the Krishna conscious movement.
Yeah, see, if like temples are needed, either like uh, if there are some particular holy places and they need to be preserved, so then constructing a temple and like their pastime places. Now also like there are places of our acharyas in Bengal and all, which needs to be developed. So for that it is okay. And along with them, and there also some preaching should be done, or for the sake of preaching you can construct a temple, or already you're doing preaching and for the devotees to, because if deities are there then devotees get more engagement, and also it will help in further preaching. So with these, either of these three reasons you can construct temples, but you should not construct temples so that you will attract more people and more donation and you can live comfortable. Okay, so for that it is not generally allowed, it is not recommended. And then one should also know one's adhikar, because constructing a big temple also takes a lot of energy, and to maintain it also takes a lot of energy. So one should know one's own capacity, and so that one sadhana and all goes properly. So that also one has to see. Okay, so your question is answered.
Yes, Prabhu. I think yes, Prabhu. So I think important was like first we should preach, make devotees, and then construct the temple for the devotees and their engagement,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So then your energy also will not so much go in maintaining the temple and also. So that is there. I mean, Prabhupada also, he has not constructed, he has mainly constructed big temples only in India. And West always a storefront and something. And only when book distribution is going well and devotees are, there are good number of devotees, then only he tried to purchase a church or something. So that is Prabhupada's thing. And Prabhupada's main intention in constructing big temples in India also is to attract people so that preaching can happen. Okay, then next.
Straightforwardness in ordinary dealings and equilibrium in loss and gain.
Hmm.
There is a statement in Padma Puran: persons who are engaged in Krishna consciousness should never be disturbed by some material gain or loss. Even if there is some material loss, one should not be perturbed, but should always think of Krishna within himself. The purport is that every conditioned soul is always absorbed in thinking of materialistic activities. He has to free himself from such thoughts and transfer himself completely to Krishna consciousness. As we have already explained, the basic principle of Krishna consciousness is to always think of Krishna. One should not be disturbed in material loss, but rather should concentrate his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. A devotee should not be subjected to lamentation or illusion. There is the following statement in Padma Puran: within the heart of a person who is overpowered by lamentation or anger, there is no possibility of Krishna being manifested.
Hmm. So one should not be too much disturbed by the ups and downs in life. But again, in this also one should be careful. I mean, this mainly applies for one who is very detached and who is withdrawn from society. But for one whose devotional service also is dependent on acting in the world, like managing things in the world, serving the people in the world, and all. Uh, one important point has to be noted. So, which is mentioned by Jiva Goswami. Read this.
Jiva
This
Goswami.
injunction.
This injunction applies to the devotee practicing smaranam, etc. The devotee absorbed in service, however, will perform service corresponding to the material he obtains, and thus will make efforts to obtain those items. If the items are not present, instead of simply remaining indifferent to loss or lack of those items, it should be understood that this injunction also means that he should not perform low actions with prominence of begging and such.
Yeah. So if you're, because if you're a grahastha and your family are also devotees, then it's not like, no, okay, if you lose job, then I should be equipoised. So I should not worry about, no, because you have to serve your family and also you have to worry about getting again another job, etc. So one should be responsible. Okay, if you lose a, let's say, 20 lakhs job and only a 15 lakh job, and if it is not much affecting your devotional service, then you should be equipoised. You should not worry too much. So something like that. Or you are trying for a promotion and you did not get, then you can be equipoised. Something like that. Okay, the demigods.
The demigods. One should not neglect to offer due respect to the demigods. One may not be a devotee of demigods, but that does not mean that he should be disrespectful to them. For example, a Vaishnava is not a devotee of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, but he is duty bound to offer all respect to such highly positioned demigods. According to Vaishnava philosophy, one should offer respect to even to an ant. So then, what to speak of such an exalted person as Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma? In Padma Puran, it is said Krishna or Hari is the master of all demigods, and therefore he is always worshipable. But this does not mean that one should not offer respect to the demigods.
See, offering respect doesn't mean that you're accepting them as supreme person or you're accepting as your own worshipable deity. Because for a devotee, Krishna always remains the Ishtadev, but he also respects others. Similarly, same thing like for a child, he's his mother is always exclusive, but he also respects the mothers of his friends, his aunts, and all these things. So the same thing, like a devotee always the Ishtadev is Krishna, but he also offers respect to the demigods. Offering respects means it can be like while passing by the temple, you offer obeisances, or at least you offer in the mind, whatever. So that is the thing. And there is also you can also see them as Vaishnavas, and you can offer and you can also take their prasad. Like in some like in Lingaras and all, they see Lord Shiva as Vaishnava only, and they take prasad and like Lord Shiva is also Dham Palak at some in many dhams and all. So that is fine. Then last, not giving pain to any living entity.
This is the statement of Mahabharata. A person who does not disturb or cause painful actions in the mind of any living entity, who treats everyone just like loving father does his children, whose heart is so pure, certainly very soon becomes favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In so-called civilized society, there is sometimes agitation against cruelty to animals, but at the same time, regular slaughterhouses are always maintained. A Vaishnava is not like that. A Vaishnava can never support an animal slaughterhouse or even give pain to any living entity. Avoid.
Okay, yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, this involves you should avoid purchasing leather goods and products that involve violence. Whatever one has to figure out, always as much as possible, one should avoid these things. And also, if it is also like with other living entities, means in terms of our conduct and behavior, also we should avoid even if you're even if like the family members, relatives, and colleagues in office, and if you are in a managerial position and you have subordinates, as much we should try. I mean, it may not be always possible, but we should always consciously try to not cause pain to them. Okay, any questions on what we discussed today? Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, yes, Yashas, bro, question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Mm.
just like when we worship the Krishna and we said we are just a worshipper of Krishna, so why people in general consider as against a demigod, but we respect the demigod also?
No, no. People
Pro-
consider us as not
Us as
respecting.
against the demigod. They said if you are not
Mm.
worshipping that there's a certain demigod, that means you are disrespecting them.
So one thing is, like, see, if they have a conception that no, that particular demigod is the supreme person, and they have some philosophical understanding also or misconception in philosophical misconception that if he is not worshipped, then those who don't worship him, they're condemned. So if they have that conception, then they may tell like that. Or some are like no, they are very like no duty bound and all. If you don't follow this thing, they not many can appreciate that. No, if you are practicing pure devotional service, you need not follow Vedic rules and all. Like in Vedic rules, it is like no, you should worship the demigods. Like it is a part of the duty of a grihastha and all. So we have to see like why they are saying like that, and then we
Uh,
can yes.
Prabhuji, just like in my case, my
Mm.
mother worshipping the in the during the Navratri time the Durga Mata. So she know the Krishna is supreme, and she
Mm.
believe in that. But still,
Mm.
she said because we are doing from the family customs
Mm.
and all this thing. So
Mm.
that's why I should not disrespect the Durga because it's a family tradition and all. So how
That's okay, no?
what is our answer, Prabhuji?
Nay, see, if she is doing, that's okay. Means if she does not want to disrespect the family tradition and she's conscious about the position of Durga and position of Krishna and all. And also, if possible, if the worship is more sattvic and is more oriented in seeing Durga as a Vaishnavi or something, then it is more safe and fine. And as one advances or one's progresses in Krishna consciousness, then they don't want to engage also in these activities. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. I hope no other questions. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience and attentive hearing.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Shri Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti